Good movies change your perception. Welcome back to Movie Ling Ling. Ever seen such a hot-tempered chef? When faced with a steak returned by a customer for being too tough, she simply grabbed a piece of raw beef, stormed out of the kitchen in a fit of anger. The customers were visibly startled by her reaction. The owner rushed out to defuse the situation, but the chef remained unsatisfied. She flipped their table in frustration before leaving the restaurant without a second glance, leaving behind bewildered patrons. "I just wanted a steak. Who did I offend?" one of the customers lamented. This fiery-tempered but beautiful chef goes by the name of Kate. She's a true workaholic with her own set of rules and rhythms. In the kitchen, she's the ultimate authority, and all the chefs must follow her instructions without question. She's extremely confident in her dishes and doesn't tolerate any dissent, not even from customers. Previously, some customers questioned the doneness of her foie gras and even sneered at her culinary skills. Kate didn't hold back, confronting them directly. "If you can't appreciate this, I suggest you go eat hot dogs at a street stand. That's more fitting for your status." Men can't argue with Kate, they just grumble and leave. The boss was very dissatisfied with her behavior but was reluctant to fire Kate because her ability was indeed strong. A significant reason for the restaurant's success was the dishes Kate prepared. However, this couldn't continue indefinitely. Kate's volatile temper was bound to scare away customers eventually. The boss tried to persuade her to see a psychologist to control her temper. Kate reluctantly agreed, but her aggression was too intense. She even left the psychologist feeling depressed.
"Why do you come to see me every week?"
Boss said she'd fire me if I didn't get therapy.
The days were thought to continue in this manner until one day, Kate received a phone call from the hospital. Her sister had passed away in a car accident, leaving behind her 5-year-old daughter.
"I know you'll love my baby the same way I would."
According to a letter left by her sister, the doctors called Kate to the hospital. It turned out her sister was a single mother who had left the letter for Kate before going into the delivery room. In case of any accidents, she hoped Kate would take good care of her daughter. The sisters were each other's only family. Kate was deeply shaken by her sister's death but had to muster her strength. She now had her niece Rose to care for. Kate brought her niece home, but Rose, having just lost her mother, was emotionally withdrawn. Kate didn't know how to interact with the child, and their relationship was somewhat awkward. Moreover, the little girl refused to eat, whether it was a fancy dinner or the kid-friendly fish sticks. Kate couldn't figure out what the problem was. A week later, she returned to the restaurant only to find a stranger in the kitchen. He introduced himself as Nick, the chef the boss had hired during her absence. Apparently, the kitchen had been in chaos without Kate around, so the boss had no choice but to hire someone temporarily. Nick was enthusiastic about his work and had a casual approach to creating dishes. The kitchen was filled with laughter and chatter, quite different from Kate's strict demeanor. Naturally, Kate didn't like Nick.
"The last thing I need right now is some lunatic in my kitchen."
However, the boss intended to keep Nick because his culinary skills were just as excellent as Kate's, albeit with a different working style.
He said he wanted to work with you.
Moreover, the Peninsula Hotel had wanted to invite Nick as the executive chef, but he had refused, preferring to work as an assistant here. Kate couldn't accept it and harbored hostility towards Nick. "This is my kitchen,"
I'm not gonna let you take it away from me, okay?
she confronted him. But Nick had no such intentions. He simply wanted to work alongside Kate.
"I'd like to work here because it's an honor to cook with you."
"If you feel uncomfortable, I can leave anytime," he said, untying his apron. The boss rushed over to mediate the situation. "This is my restaurant. Nobody can kick you out," the boss intervened. But Nick countered, "This is Kate's kitchen. I'll only stay if she says so." All eyes turned to Kate. "Seems you've left me no choice," she reluctantly conceded. Nick stayed as he wished. That night, when Kate returned home, she couldn't find Rose anywhere. Finally, she discovered her hiding under the bed. It turned out the nanny she hired was unreliable. Not only did she neglect Rose, but she also smoked in the room, terrifying Rose into hiding under the bed with her dolls. Kate felt incredibly guilty. Deciding to bring Rose to the restaurant every night, she could at least keep an eye on her and ease her own worries. However, Rose remained despondent. Seeing this, Nick approached her with a plate of spaghetti, devouring it enthusiastically beside her. The sight captivated Rose, and she stared fixedly at the bowl of noodles. Once Nick achieved his goal, he made an excuse to leave. Rose glanced at the spaghetti in her hand, unable to resist, and ultimately began eating it eagerly, bite after bite. As Kate returned to the kitchen and witnessed this scene, she looked at Nick in disbelief. From that day on, the girl seemed to gradually open up and became less distant towards Kate. She would willingly accompany Kate to buy groceries at 4:30 in the morning and then return to the restaurant at night to learn cooking from Kate, with Nick often assisting on the sidelines. Rose visibly brightened up, needing more companionship at this time. As the relationship between Kate and Nick improved due to Rose's warming up, they even invited Nick to their home to cook together. Nick brought many ingredients, and they busied themselves in the kitchen. In no time, they prepared a lavish pizza feast and transformed the room into an African savanna picnic setting. They ate and chatted, harmoniously resembling a family of 3. After dinner, they played fun parent-child games, making it the happiest day for Rose. After Rose fell asleep, Kate and Nick, seldom having a moment to sit together, found themselves in a rare quiet moment. Over the course of their time together, Kate had already changed her opinion of him, even feeling an urge to confide in him. However, on this day off, was suddenly called to the school. It turned out her niece woke up too early every morning and stayed at the restaurant too late at night, resulting in severe sleep deprivation. She often dozed off in class, which would undoubtedly affect her learning. The teacher hoped Kate could pay more attention to ensure the child's proper sleep, warning that otherwise, they would involve child welfare services. "But I'm confident that you will address this," the teacher added. Kate promptly agreed. When her niece finished school, Kate explained the situation to her. Despite Kate's desperate explanations, the girl wouldn't listen. If she couldn't go to the restaurant, she would be alone again. The fragile relationship they had worked so hard to build plummeted to rock bottom at that moment. Kate didn't feel like going to work. Nick could tell something was wrong with her. So he asked Kate out for a drink, and tried to help her in his own way, though the child's case was still unresolved. But the relationship between the two of them became closer. When they got home, Kate realized that her niece wasn't asleep. She was alone in her room, watching a video of her mum's life. The two of them were so happy and joyful. Mum's death has hit her very hard. She was at her most vulnerable right now. Kate hugged her in pain. She slept with Rose that night. And the next day Kate even took time off work to stay home. She played games and pillow fights with her. Finally, Rose was happy again. When Nick got off work, he came over with the ingredients. They were like a family. They worked together to finish the dishes. And during their breaks, they went to the playground together. We took a picture of the 3 of them together and leave more happy memories. And Kate and Nick are officially in love. Kate also found a reliable nanny, Anna, through a neighbor. She found a reliable babysitter, Anna. Everything worked out perfectly. But when she went to work the next day, Kate was surprised to find the regular who usually ordered her food wanted to see Nick by name. The boss wanted to talk to Nick about the food. He went directly to Nick to discuss. He even wants Nick to take over Kate's job. The 2 chefs are equally strong. He preferred the one with the better temperament. Kate felt deeply betrayed. "You're doing this on purpose. To get close to me so you could take my place as chef."
Why didn't you have the guts just to run your own kitchen, Nick? Instead of coming in here and taking over mine.
Obviously hurt Nick. He didn't say anything else. He just took off his apron and left the restaurant without looking back. Kate came home upset. She got a message. Nick's voice came on the phone.
For the record, I did turn her down.
When the boss talked to Nick, he rejected it outright. It was Kate who misunderstood Nick. She was filled with guilt, but she didn't know how to face Nick. Zoe sensed her feelings. She took out her favorite doll, hoping to give Kate some comfort. But after that day, Nick left the restaurant, and Kate didn't contact him. And Rose couldn't help but ask, "Why does it not come to see us anymore?" Kate had to explain that we had a fight. Nick might not come back. Rose's expression changed immediately. She went back to her room without saying a word. And then the next day, Rose suddenly disappeared. Kate couldn't find her anywhere. She didn't care about being upset. Rushed to call Nick. They called the police. Then they searched the streets until she saw the doll by the bed. Kate suddenly reacted. They went to the cemetery with Nick. And sure enough, my niece was here. I'm afraid of me to forget her. With Kate and Nick's company, she's become more and more cheerful. She hasn't thought about her mum for a long time. She loved spending time with them. Until this time, when Nick hadn't come for a long time. She saw her mum's dolls again. And suddenly realized it. Kate spoke softly and comforted her.
We'll never forget her.
After calming Rose, Kate apologized to Nick. That she had gone too far. And Nick said he actually wanted to thank you. That he was hesitant to take the step. And he's been hesitant to take the leap. And now it's time for him to pursue his dream. So he quit his restaurant job. He took a job as a chef in San Francisco. He'll be leaving soon. Kate was sad to see him go. But she didn't say anything. But when she was working, she was always distracted. And then a customer came by and said, he said his rare beef wasn't rare enough. And mocked her for never having seen raw before. Kate couldn't stand it. She threw a piece of raw beef at him. And left without looking back. She went home and thought about it for a long time. And finally made up her mind. With the sauce she made, she knocked on Nick's door, hoping he would stay. At the end of the story, Nick didn't go to San Francisco, and Kate left the restaurant. They opened their own restaurant together, and they lived happily ever after with their little niece Rose. That's all for today. I'll see you next time.